Hi everyone, thanks for joining me, Jamie Zeigler, another episode of Out and About with Lady J. Today I have a very special client who is dear to my heart, him and his wife. She is not in the video today, but she is here, Steffi. And this is Alex Prandecki. He is the owner of Aleco Heating and Air Services. Alex, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You bet, you bet. So I have you here today because what do we have going on today? What's happening for you today?
Very exciting day. We've got our closing.
You do?
So a lot of stress, but at the same time, you've made it really easy for us. So we're really happy to work with you on that.
I appreciate it. I've tried. We've had some challenges. So I'm going to do a little bit of a different video today. What we're going to talk about today, and I told you a little bit about this, is we're going to talk about kind of some red flags in lending. We're going to talk about just some really bad practices in lending, just a couple. We're not going to talk about too many of them. And we're going to talk about Alex. I want Alex to be able to, show off and showcase his business that he does and be able to talk about that as well. So kind of we'll talk about the lending part first. You want to do that? One of the things that I think that we have found to be the most stressful about this situation is that we've had a lender who has not done their job. And that happens a lot. A lot of us, we get lenders where they do not do a full underwritten pre-approval. I know a lot of times I will get pre-approvals from people and I will tell people, I don't want a pre-approval. When you're out shopping for a home, a pre-approval basically means I've talked to somebody, I've told them that I should be really good and credit worthy, but the lender didn't actually do their job and pull credit, right? They didn't pull their bank statements, they didn't pull credit checks of any kind. That's important. I think a lot of times, did your lender tell you that if you pull your credit more than once, did he tell you to shop around, or did he kind of tell you not to pull your credit?
The lender, when it came to the credit, the process is very confusing and lengthy. So we were hoping to have a lender that would walk us through all the steps, but since we chose a lender just because we're inexperienced in this field of purchasing and selling homes, and we chose lenders not from you but separately. It's very difficult to exactly pinpoint at what point what, but he pulled our credit and definitely after the pre-approval letter. So I don't.
After the pre-approval, so
right.
That's one of the things I want to talk about. So a red flag in lending is when somebody wants to pull your credit ahead of time. That's a good thing. So when you're going out and you're shopping for home, I like people to know, hey, I've given them bank statements, pay stubs, they've given my taxes. Usually the pay stubs are the last two that you had. You're self-employed, so it's different. But if somebody just gives you a pre-approval letter, that does not mean anything. If you're going in to shop for a home and you have a pre-approval letter, that just means I called a lender on the phone and he said, hey, sounds good to go out there and go shopping. So it's kind of like putting the cart before the horse.
Right.
A lot of lenders will also tell you, they'll say, hey, stay with me, stick with me, don't go do any more credit pulls, don't do things like that. It's going to affect your credit score. Right. And in reality, it doesn't. So by law, Fair Isaacs, Beacon, Experian, there's this called the tri-merge. So it's Fair Isaacs, it's Beacon, it's Classic 04, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. And what happens is you actually have by law 45 days to be able to pull your credit check with anybody. So as long as you're staying in the same realm of what you're doing. So if you're going out and you're looking for a loan for your house, and you go and you get your credit checked with 5 different lenders, you can do that, if you're shopping for rates, basically. So you have 45 days to do it. I want you guys to know that. That's a good thing. A lot of lenders do not tell you that. They try to keep you in-house, and they say, hey, don't do it. You're going to mess up your credit score. You don't want to go out and get a Victoria's Secret credit card. You don't want to go to Home Depot. You don't want to go get a car loan, those types of things. If you're shopping outside of what you're looking for, that's where you're going to get a hit on your credit score. But if you're shopping in the same industry, like if you're looking for a new vehicle and you're shopping a couple different dealerships, you can do more than one pull in that same genre of what you're looking for. Does that make sense?
Oh, I didn't know that. That's good to know.
So yeah, a lot of lenders will tell you that. But I know in this deal that we had, I think we're trying not to use too many funny stories, but we have quite a bit. One of the things that he did with us is, how long ago did we do the inspection?
The inspection was quite a long time ago.
3.5 weeks ago,
yeah,
3 weeks ago. We had a 30-day plus closing. We were supposed to close 2 weeks ago, right, and we didn't. So I kept being told by the lender, I need an extension, I need an extension, I need an extension.
Yeah, Jamie sent out all the documents immediately, and then I sent all the documents literally, because I'm very fast on the computer. I'm like a rocket.
Instantly.
So I maybe 10 minutes, some documents, harder ones, maybe 15, 20 minutes literally. So everything was off of our side, but then unfortunately, what I'm getting out of it, I don't know if that's right, is that potentially some lenders, this lender told us he outsourced his underwriting. So he told us pretty much something that scared me. First of all, and these were red flags after we already got committed and signed and working with him. He said that realtors call him on and off every day, yelling at him and threatening him. So I thought, that's weird. I don't think anybody would have a business and be threatened by realtors. So that was bad. And then a couple of other things happened and gave us a bit red flags where it just got strung along.
I think the main thing that we have is just the appraisal came back. The appraisal came back $50,000 short, under value. He would not go to the AMC to fight stuff. As a lender, you are not able to go to the appraiser and talk to them before the appraisal is done. But once the appraisal is done and completed, you can go to them and you can basically ask for a reevaluation. So that was one red flag. He said that we couldn't do that, and you can. I don't think he fought very hard for that, so we were kind of stuck with that. And we had a deadline that we had to work with. So we fixed it, we got it worked out. But the one thing that really stands out to me is that he came to us the day of closing, or the day before closing, and told us, per the underwriter, for the appraisal, we need to make sure that we have smoke detectors put up, and we need to make sure that we have all the alarms put up. And I said, that has nothing to do with the appraisal. Has nothing to do with that. That's your inspection. So if you get a lender that's asking for stuff like pay stubs, last minute, the day of closing, these are all things that should be asked for up front. You do not ask for proof of rent payment. He was asking for proof of rent payment the day before we were supposed to close.
Right, and I actually knew he needed that, so I reached out to him 3 weeks early and said, do you need the proof of rent payment? And he said, no, I don't need that.
Yep.
So.
And then the day before closing, he asked for that. So those are all things that should be asked for up front in the very beginning.
My wife and I closed on another home for $800,000 that we flipped, and so we got a loan, and then we flipped it and we sold it. And I was in touch with the underwriter immediately, every single day, getting emails back and forth, sending out documents and back. And here I would send in a document. He told me, okay, it goes somewhere to California. It goes on the bottom of a stack. 40 other clients are on top of yours. Then they look at it. If they find one problem, they put you back on the stack. And it sounded almost like sadistic. So we had to go through a really tough time because of that.
We did.
And we don't have enough experience to understand it, but Jamie's been doing this for a long time. She's done a lot of transactions.
So I was on the realtors,
she knew exactly what was going on,
I think it's very interesting. Just do your job up front, really research stuff. As a realtor, even when I was a mortgage lender, if I wanted to give a valuable resource to somebody and say, hey, here's a referral partner I have, by law, we have to give 3 people. I'm happy to do that. Sometimes we say, hey, here's 3 people, and sometimes we'll put them in order of who we like to use. But use your real estate agent. We're in the industry, so if somebody is getting these comments that they're getting phone calls every day getting yelled at, there's a reason for that. Transactions in real estate are complicated, they're difficult. It's very emotional, but I would say that one of the biggest things that we have in this that was an issue is prioritization. When you have a loan that is closing tomorrow, you don't put it on the bottom of the pile and say, hey, we need to get an extension because there's other loans ahead of you. This is a prioritization situation.
Yes.
So
and the more we thought he would prioritize, the more we just went on the back of a 40 client pile. So, but it's good that Jamie had a lot of had a good relationship with the sellers, and she was able to work with everybody and try to figure out how to get compromise and make sure that they don't back out, because we almost lost the whole deal just because we chose one lender versus another one. So it's kind of critical to choose that right lender.
It costs a lot. We have sellers that are moving. They're having to incur hotel expenses, per diem expenses, moving expenses. If people think, well, it's not a big deal, it is a big deal. So if somebody doesn't have that money from the closing from the new buyers, then that puts the seller back. We have to think about the place that they're buying. They're buying from somebody else. That puts their closing back, and their closing back. It's a snowball. So it really affects, it can affect, 10, 15, 20 people at one time. I think one of the important things too that I want to talk about, another red flag, is if a lender is giving you an interest rate off the bat without pulling your credit score, looking at your taxes, looking at pay stubs, things like that, that's not an actual interest rate. You cannot quote an actual interest rate until you've actually pulled a credit score and looked at that type of information. So I think what happens a lot of times, I don't think this happened to you, but what happens a lot of times is people will get a bait and switch. So they'll say, hey, we have an interest rate of 4.25 and it's great. So people think I'm going to stay with this person and go with it. When in reality, we haven't pulled any of their information. So I could call in and say, hey, I make $850,000 a year. I have an 800 credit score and I'm ready to go. I have no debt, but we haven't looked at DTI. We haven't looked at any of that information. Being self-employed, as you know too, there's so many different facts that you have that are at play that need to be pulled together and compiled, and really, it needs to be analyzed. It takes time to marinate that process and that loan together. So don't go based upon somebody that gives you a interest rate without actually pulling your credit, because if they do that, they're going to bait and switch you, and then you get down the line, and you're further down the road, and it's like, hey, we're closing in a week, and hey, by the way, the interest rate's actually 6.25. It's kind of a bait and switch. It's luring you in. That's important. I think one of the other really, really important things too to talk about is just ethics of stuff. I think that's important. You got a text message from this person, or I think, he sang you a song. He sang you an opera song.
Yes.
And he literally did it over the phone, over video, saying, I did it my way. And it's like, that's just, it's right. It was almost kind of like a slap in the face, like I did it my way.
This was a case of a person who believes really that they are the best, they know what they're doing, which is worse than somebody who doesn't know what they're doing.
Right.
Because they're really, I believe this lender thought that it was normal to drag on the file for weeks and weeks, and for people to be out homeless out of their homes waiting for the home to sell, because the sellers were not homeless, but they were waiting to move in somewhere, so they're kind of out in a hotel, and so I think that's really, really scary.
Or just the joke text messages of, hey, guess what, you got a pre-approval, just kidding. I think it was a Steve Harvey text message.
He called me with the good news that we're closing. He said, I've got bad news for you, and I thought I was going to fall off a ladder. But then he said, oh, just kidding, you got clear.
And I feel bad, because this is your life. Like, it's people's lives. I mean, it's a very important thing. So pick your lender wisely. Don't be bait and switched, that type of thing. I want to ask you this: did he lock your rate? How long did it take for him to lock your interest rate in? And you don't need to tell us. Don't tell us what it is. But how long did it take him to lock that rate in?
I got a rate at some point.
Okay.
And that rate came in sometime after he pulled the credit.
Okay.
And then at some point later on, I said, well, hold on. I've been doing really well with my business. I've been paying my taxes. They're higher income. I qualified earlier last year for an $800,000 loan, so why can't I just qualify for a better rate? Yeah. And he gave me an exorbitant high rate as a non-conforming loan, which I don't understand. I've been paying my taxes, I've been making regular income, so why couldn't I just get a nice rate with my wife? And
I'm not going to get into the full, like, what you had. Like, I know, like, yours was a non-QM. It was a bank statement loan, basically. But I think it's important too that a lot of times, I used to be a lender, and that's why I'm having this conversation. I think it's important I stay out of the lending role right now, because I am a realtor, but I do know these things. So it's important that you do actually have the ability to tell your lender, lock in my rate. So rates fluctuate within hours of the day. Like, if anybody is watching, the rate and just what's going on, the rates fluctuate by hour, by day. You can have your lender lock in that rate. So a lot of times they'll ride that out and they'll see what's happening. Sometimes they want it to go higher, so they make more. Sometimes they want it to go lower, because they're actually looking out for your best interest. You do, once they have pulled your credit and they have given you a rate, if that is a rate that you want, you do have the ability to tell them, lock my rate in. I want to lock it. A lot of them will not. They'll tell you, we can't do that. They can. By law, they can lock that rate. And you want that. If you get a good rate, you want that. You don't want to keep going through the process of waiting for them to try to get this thing closed. You don't have a locked rate. But if you want to ride that rate out and kind of see if it falls, or gets a little bit better over the couple weeks, if it's too high where you don't want to lock it, then you can wait and ride that out as well. So anyways, we're going to get it closed today. I'm very sorry for all the problems that you guys had.
And then we celebrate, and we're going to have a great time. I'm going to go in the house, close the door, and just like, we're in the home.
Yeah.
So we're excited because my wife's parents are flying in, and they're going to help us get all of this together. And so it's a lot of exciting things are happening. We'll eventually have it remodeled, and we'll have a barbecue, and Jamie's coming over.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Brazilian style, so it's going to be really, really nice.
That's nice. Well, you guys have teased me so much. He's teased me so much about, I've written 3 books, but I left out the divorce book. I wanted to give you those just as a joke, because you always give me a hard time about it.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice. Only if you sign them.
Oh yeah. So they're really not the big of a deal. But I wanted to ask
this
you
is
though.
Fantastic.
I want to give you your moment. So I want to ask you, how long have you owned Aleco? How did you get into the business? Tell me a little bit about you.
Well, we opened an air conditioning company in Las Vegas that with my brother, and that company is now profiting $200,000 a month. So it's a really big deal. It's the second largest one in Las Vegas.
That's awesome.
So at one point I told my brother I'd like to sell my shares and move out into a safer area where I could have kids one day and things like that. So we sold our shares and we moved here. And we're continuing that same great customer service, 5-star reviews, always siding with the client. not screwing clients. So the problem in air conditioning is that it's a bit foreign to people. It's like me hiring a computer programmer. I don't know what they're actually doing. So here, when somebody goes to your home, it's scary. Everybody's scared of that situation. So for us, we don't send salespeople that are just going to sell you a new air conditioner. We fix them and we get out of there. And if somebody wants an air conditioner, they get the best equipment at a really great price. So everybody wins. We always side with clients. We'll have once in a while a client that 1 out of 50 or 100 that has a lot of questions or wants us to come out 6 times to help them use the thermostat. So we will do that, go out those 6 times.
You probably get nest questions, don't you?
Lots of nest questions. 1 out of 500 maybe will say no matter what, they just don't like the air conditioner. So we tell them, okay, we'll give you your entire money back. So things that other companies don't do. And so that this experience is very stress-free, because replacing an air conditioner, having it inspected, everything can be a lot of stress.
Just not having AC here in Florida is very stressful.
Right.
Having a Nest thermostat was stressful for me. I took it and I punted that thing in the trash. I said, I don't want that anymore, because it would do crazy things. So.
Right. If somebody needs air and there's a elderly person or they have dogs, something that is emergency, we'll even come out at 2 a.m. if we need to, and then we don't charge extra for that. So we do a lot of things. We're open 24/7, so all the way customer service focused. And I think that's giving us a lot of advantage, because the phone just won't stop ringing. So we got 6,000 properties that call us. It's awesome. A management company and a whole shopping mall. We do maintain all their units, and my wife does a lot of the work and all the office stuff and marketing, and so it's a great situation. She's an architect, but we didn't want to work apart 8 or 10 hours a day, so we like to work together. And this is
because they're
really
newlyweds,
nice. Right? So almost 3 years.
Almost 3 years. Well, still a newlywed. I love the story. So Alex, it's neat to get to know your client. So one of the neat stories that Alex told me is you guys went to Happy Camp.
Yes.
And they dug gold, and they sifted through all the gold and picked these little teeny tiny nuggets out and to make each other's wedding rings. So
right. That was 3 weeks of breaking rocks and stones, and I got a video of Stephanie and I sent it to her parents, and they said, "Oh my goodness, she's in the U.S. on her honeymoon and she's working out there with gloves on and pickaxes." But at the end, we got beautiful rings. All of them the entire ring is made of gold that we found.
Beautiful.
And it costs 10 times more than a regular ring, but I'm jokingly, but we just the sentimental value is 1,000 times better, and it's actual gold. We didn't purchase any of it. It's all from the gold we found in hers as well. So I
would rather have that than some fancy place down here in downtown Sarasota. I think it's very neat. So I'm very excited for you too, and I just really appreciate you guys trusting me and choosing me with this transaction. So it was a double-sided transaction as a listing agent, and they came to me to reach out to me to actually buy the home too. So that was really a blessing. So very excited to have you guys. I'm going to get emotional I really am going to get emotional because I feel so bad for you. So I'm really excited. I'm going to give you a hug. Really
we have to close. Always be closing.
We do. You guys have been through a lot. So 2.5 weeks later, we're going to close. So if you guys want to reach out and have a really awesome family come and do your AC unit or test anything, you guys need to test your Freon or make sure that something's running well or put in a new system.
Or maintenance, we'll come out and just do what needs to be done and show you along the way what we're doing, and nothing's a mystery. So
call Alex at Aleco.
Stress-free air conditioning.
That's right. I will put all the information down below in the page. If you guys like this video and you guys want more of these, or you have any questions or comments, go ahead and press the like button down below and subscribe. I will also put in your information in there. And again, I appreciate you guys joining Lady J today. Thanks so much.